Welcome to the 63rd Model Legislature and Courts Governors Debate, and we're going to start off with Ryan. Ryan, what have you done in youth and government, such as what program areas have you been over the years, and how do you think that your history in youth and government will help or hinder your government or governor's term?
Well, thank you for that. I've been in youth and government. I'm part of the first class of ninth graders who've been fortunate enough to be able to participate in the Forum program. Inside the Forum program, I was a committee chair, and then last year I was a member of the Gold Senate, as I am this year, but this year I'm also a committee chair. But I really understand how our processes work, at least within the legislature. I understand what delegates see, how they interact with each other in these large sessions, and I really think I've learned. I've met quite a few people, first of all, through these different sessions, but I've really learned how the mentality of youth in government affects how people want to go and speak on bills. I think that people feel really comfortable when certain things are done. I've learned these through different presiding officers, and I think those are types of things which I can apply to what's being done here in youth in government.
Yeah, Eli, same question.
So this is my second year in the program. Last year I was in the Assembly. This year I'm in Blue Senate. My experience in the Senate and Assembly have given me knowledge about, again, of the, like Board said, the process, the legislative process, but also being president of the Berkeley delegation and having delegates in every single program. I have knowledge about all the programs and know about it. And also being president of the Berkeley delegation, I feel, has really prepared me for being youth governor. I have to deal with a lot of things. I have to be a leader, and I think I can use what I've learned as being president of the Berkeley delegation, which is so much, and use it as youth governor. Thank you.
I, like Ryan and Eli, am also a child of the legislature. This is going to be my second year in the Gold Senate. My freshman year, I was in the Forum, and I had the opportunity to participate in the court program in there, where I was the presiding justice of my circuit. So I understand from my Forum years the basic processes of the court. I understand from my last 2 years in the Senate how the legislative process works, how parliamentary procedure works. And as the president of the Palomar delegation, I've had the opportunity to apply these lessons. So I've learned over the last 3 years how to teach these lessons specifically to people who are in need of assistance. I was a committee chair when I was in MUN, so I've learned how to run a committee as opposed to a whole body in general. And as a committee chair in MUN, I know how to run differently a committee session and a general session in a larger legislative body or a larger body. And it's that experience in the legislature and in the court, the difference between them, and I'm sure the difference in program areas I've never had the fortune to participate in, but I will definitely learn very, very soon from other delegates, I'm sure, that I feel I'm ready to be youth governor.
I, like Ryan and Matt, was a freshman in one of the first years that we were allowed in the program. And then in my sophomore year, I was the Verdugo Hills Family YMCA vice president and the bill chair. And that's taught me a lot about the legislative process and how things go about in the Senate. I also sponsored a governor's priority bill, and I lobbied it to the Senate, where I was unfortunately defeated, but that's also taught me a lot about humility and how to deal with going about the legislative process when you're sponsoring a bill. Something that Matt forgot to mention that Matt also did with me was the Conference on National Affairs, and that's taught us both, I'm sure, a lot about this program. Going to YNG on a national level has really taught both of us how to deal with different opinions around the nation, and I think those different opinions have a minority demographic in YNG, but nonetheless a demographic. But yeah, Conference on National Affairs has definitely taught me a lot about public speaking and how to accept criticism, and I think that's really going to resonate within my term as youth governor if I'm elected.
Okay, so I am head of public outreach for the Sacramento Central delegation, right here in my hometown of Sacramento. As for experience, this is my second year in the program. Last year I was in Gold Assembly Committee 19. We passed several bills. Also, we did not pass a few bills as well. Most of them we passed, though. And I lobbied heavily for a bill, not as a lobbyist, but I argued for a bill concerning changing In God We Trust on coins to E Pluribus Unum, which unfortunately failed, but I thought that was a great thing, and that is essentially my experience with YNG.
How does your political party's platform reflect your personal values, and why did you associate yourself with your particular political party?
That's a very good question. You know, the Golden Party is the incumbent party here within the Youth in Government. That sounds crazy. Within Youth in Government, you know, both having Governor Amin Merchant and Secretary of State Brandon Kim, we really have quite a solid platform as far as I believe. There's some slight modifications which I would personally go after and make happen, but quite truthfully, the Golden Party really is about California being more important than the federal government, at least to the citizens in the state of California. It's really pro-California, and it believes basically that we have problems here in California, but the only way to overcome these problems is to instill them here within California. We can't have the federal government come after California because California is a whole different animal compared to any other state. So I'm really a big fan of that idea, and I really am very pro-California. So that's why I went with the Golden Party.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I first joined the Wolfpack Party because it was a popular party, and they came after us, and I ended up in the Wolfpack Party. But after recently, I read the party platform again, and I found I really, really like the platform. A lot of people think of the Wolfpack Party and they think, oh, it's a radical socialist platform, when really it's not the case. The Wolfpack Party is trying to bring the power back from this political economic elite back to the people, or back to the pack. And right now, I've been doing research on it. I mean, 1% of the population have the accumulated wealth of 90% of the people. And this big money, these billionaires are able to manipulate the system. You see a lot of these things that should be being implemented that aren't implemented because of big money lobbyists, and it's really not proving beneficial for the people. And what Wolfpack tries to do is bring the power back to the people and back to the pack. And I'm all for that. And I really, really strongly support Wolfpack's platform.
So I went with the Yin Yang Party for a couple of reasons. Number one is I believe in their message of equality. Like it says in the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal. Obviously, more than just men now, women and children as well, regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, that everyone deserves an equal shot. And on a more personal level, I also went with Yin Yang because Sam Fushardi, the chair of the Yin Yang Party, and I were in the forum together. So I trusted her, and I knew she'd do a good job as my party chair.
I chose to go rational for a number of reasons, as Matt said. The Rational Party doesn't necessarily lean towards one side of the political spectrum. They take whatever works and incorporates it into their platform, and I think that was a big attraction for me, just because I've always felt that way. I've always been politically moderate, and I try to see both sides of things. So their political platform fit my personal views very well. Also, the Rational Party also stands for geekiness, and that's always something that's always been in me. I've had an inner geek for a while now, and I think that also appealed to me. But yeah, I'm very happy with my decision to join the Rational Party.
Well, this year I'm happy to announce I am running unaffiliated, that you could say independent of any party, for a youth governor. And the reason I chose to do that is because of a lot of things that I've heard that have been happening with the parties, not specifically talking about SAC right now, but I read an article in the newspaper from the 18th about how the parties were created essentially to make the political system more fair in YNG, to make it so that people from smaller delegations can get a wide base of support. But what's been happening is that people from smaller delegations have been, being notified last minute that they've actually been kicked out of the party, and then they can't run in that primary. Or people from big delegations come in and just dominate the primary, and people from smaller delegations can't get elected. So a system that has actually been designed to make the system more fair is in reality making it much less fair for most people in YNG, and I think that needs to change.
as a member of your party, do you believe that that you represent your party, the things that you do are things that your party would do, or that the party represents you, the things that the party does would be things that you do?
Thank you for that. It's when I go and do anything, especially in the Senate here, because that's my role this year. I really do take into account some of the things which my party really does stand for, because people do look up to you regardless of what you say, if you are known. So I do take that into account because I really do completely agree with that. So I really do truly believe in what my party believes in also. The other thing was, I believe does your party represent you?
Yeah,
that way?
Yeah.
Well, that kind of goes into a more sensitive subject because today's Saturday and there's been some stuff that's been going on. But basically, our parties, they work their best to represent who we are. And all as candidates, we can all kind of agree. There's been some things which have happened here at Sacramento which we want to kind of put behind us. And, you know, they weren't really acts of the candidates, but they were more of acts of the party. So the party really does try as much as they can to be behind the candidate and to stand for the ideals of what the candidate wants. But, you know, it's something which really, it takes more time and experience and more integration of the parties. We can only learn from what has happened. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's a really good question. Again, like Ryan said, I do my best to represent my party. I love my party's platform. I believe in all the different parts of it, and I would want to bring power back to the PAC, and I try and show that in the Senate. But I cannot say that my party necessarily represents me, because even though they do a great job campaigning for me and they're doing great, it's not like they tell me everything that they're doing, and I don't get the updates. And just if the party chairs of the Wolfpack Party and the Golden Party are fighting, it doesn't necessarily mean that me and Ryan are fighting. We're not fighting. Okay, yeah. None of the candidates. There's no tension between us. Like there's tension between our parties, and I think it could easily be construed to be thought that like that. But the fact is that our race is separate from the political parties' want to get more people to join their party. And they do, and yeah, thank you.
All right, so I've got to say my views and Yin Yang's views are quite close to one another, as we both stand for equality in California and equality in the world at large. If someone comes up to me in the Senate and they ask me to speak for a bill, one of the first things I think about is this an equality bill? Does this promote more equality between Californians, or is this creating inequality? Does this discriminate against? Does this increase the divide between the rich and the poor? Is this bad for relations between races, between religions, between sexual orientations, between the genders as they exist in our world today? So yes, I think politically, Yin Yang and I are very, very close. And as far as does Yin Yang represent me, I think they've done a great job. They've been going out, they've been talking to people, they've been making sure my name is out there, which us being a smaller party than, say, Golden and Wolfpack is a little more difficult, but I think Yin Yang's done a great job so far.
Closely going by what Ryan said, I think collectivizing the parties and the candidates is a mistake that many of us tend to make. But yes, politically we are very identical. I think that regarding what the parties do doesn't necessarily represent me 100% of the time, but they do their best to campaign for me, and I think that I've been honored to have that blessing. Yeah, I think the political party system has been growing and growing over the past 2 years, but it doesn't necessarily correlate between the candidates and the party completely quite yet. So.
Quite honestly, I think there's been a lot of mention about these things that have been going on at SAC. I think that it's very regrettable. I think that, you know, all of us, I think here, can very much regret what's happened. But I think that such problems like that are kind of inherent in the system of having parties. Like whenever you have a party, it means you have another party. And whenever you have another party, you know, it just creates opposition and division. And I think that we really need to work to change that. And that is part of why I'm running unaffiliated. And as youth governor, I don't think I would really appreciate it if I had, you know, a party chairman telling me, you know, you better not do this, or you better do this. You know, I think that I need to be able to speak directly to the delegates instead of making these, you know, unilateral top-down decisions that impact, you know, everyone's experience within the program.